Hello and welcome to Metro TV. In this episode, I am going to go over the Windows Phone SDK and start building a simple Windows Phone application. To get started, you can download the tools by going to create.msdn.com. In here, you will be able to click on the download the free tools link and get access to the tools. This is one file that installs the Windows Phone SDK, including Visual Studio Express and Expression Blend. If you already have Visual Studio installed, it will just install the templates for Windows Phone applications. To get started, we're going to go in and open up Visual Studio. Now, I'm using the Ultimate version of Visual Studio, but this will work with the Express Edition as well. We're going to click on New Project. And here, if you select the Silverlight for Windows Phone templates, you'll see that you have various templates. The first one here is a very simple, plain Jane template. Just gives you a page. We have a data bound, which basically is also simple. Just gives you a page with a list box, and also gets you started with the MVN pattern, which we'll cover in a bit. We have a class template, class library template. Then we have the panorama and pivot templates. These are two very popular templates that a lot of people use as foundations for building their Windows Phone applications, and we'll talk about those on a later video. The other ones here that are of interest are the playback agent. This allows you to play back audio in the background. We have both a playback and a streaming agent, as well as the scheduled task, which allows us to run some tasks on the background of an application. For this video, I am going to concentrate on the data bound template. So I'm going to go ahead and name this Introduction to Windows Phone and click OK. We're going to select the 7.1 version, which is the latest version. And this is what we get. We get a simple solution with a couple files. Now, to explain these files, let me just go over each one of them so you can see what they're there for. First, the images, the splash screen, background, and application icon basically provide the images that the application needs. The splash screen image is basically an image that you will typically change so that you can customize it to your application. But this is what gets displayed when you first run the application. This is the splash image basically that gets rendered. Background is the background of the icon of the tile rather of your application. So if the user pins the application to the start menu, the background is what they will see on the tile. And then the application icon is what appears in the application list page, which I'll show you in a second. We have the app.saml file, .cs. This is a very important file for us. This is basically where we put all application level scope variables. As you see here, we have a variable of type main view model, and it's actually a property. Okay? And this has application level scope. And here we also have a couple of events that are very important to us. We have the application launching event. Now this event gets called the very first time, not the very first time, but anytime the application gets started from the start screen or from the application list, we basically go into the application launching event. When we activate the application, meaning the application regains focus, we hit this application activated method. When the application deactivates, basically when it loses focus, we go to deactivate. This is typically where I save all my data. This is where if I need to save history, or if I need to save anything for the user, I typically do it here, because I'm never guaranteed to go back. The application will be activated again. So I typically use this to save my data. And then the application closing happens when the user hits the back button to basically close the application. You hit this button, and you can also use this to save state if you like. I typically always do it from the deactivate. In fact, I a lot of times just write a method, a different method here, and I call it from both the deactivate and the close. And I just want to make sure that my application are always saving state. Okay, so the other files that we have here is we have this main file. This is obviously what the application is going to start with. So when you run the application, this is what comes up. You have a details page for this template, which basically just gives you details of the particular item that you selected. And then we have these two folders here. The sample data contains a sample file. It's an XML file that basically has the same structure as your item view model. And this is basically so that we can display information on the editor. When you run the application, you will not see design 1, design 2 appear in the emulator. This is only for design purposes. The view models folder tries to give you a head start or a template for creating an MVVM application. MVVM stands for model view model, where your model is just data coming from a database, coming from a file or service. And your view is, well, the view is what you see, what the user sees is the screen. Now, the view model basically provides you with all of the data needed by the view. So in this case here, the main view model is going to provide the data needed to render this page. Now you can take it to the extreme and basically say every single piece of data that I'm going to show on my application is going to come from a view model. So your application name, your page name here, all of that data will come from your view model. You can totally do that if you want to, but you don't have to. Typically what people do is they only include the dynamic data in their view model. In this case, the collection of items here. So if we open this, you will see that we have a collection, and this is an observable collection. This is going to be very important, which we're going to cover that later on another video. But an observable collection basically allows us to use to bind to the UI, which I will explain on a later video. This particular collection is of type item view model, which we'll open up in a second. And then we also have a sample property here. And then we have a load data method. Now, if you notice here, we're loading this by hand. But we can very naturally just call a web service, load it from there, or maybe load it from a file. Now, the item view model here is not something that you will see directly binded to at the page level. Rather, the item view model is typically a class that just contains a structure that you want to keep track of. Say you're trying to keep track of task. Well, instead of having line 1, line 2, line 3, you will probably have the task name, the description of the task, perhaps even the due date. So the item view model is your data structure, and typically I will have multiple view models, item view models for the data that I'm trying to keep track of. I will also have one view model for every single page that I have on my application. So in this case, I have this details page. I will typically just create another item here and call this detail view model. Right? This is for my details page, and this is just the way that I choose to do it. You can follow whatever pattern you like to follow. Okay, so let's run this application, see what happens. So if you run it, we're going to get to the emulator. Now the emulator, it's good to know that the emulator is a true emulator. It's not a simulator. So basically it is Windows Phone OS compiled to x86 so that you can run it on the computer. This is, in essence, is a virtual machine. So it's a pretty nice, complete emulator of the phone. So here we also have some additional tools. For instance, if you want to change the size, you can change it here, make it smaller, or make it bigger. Let's go back and put it back to 66. Okay. You can also rotate it. So if you want to see how your applications will render using the landscape mode, you can totally do that as well. We also have some additional tools that are provided by the emulator. We have an accelerometer emulator so that you can test the accelerometer sensor. So if you want to see how your applications will react to the accelerometer, you can kind of try that here. We also have a locations emulator, if you will. So if you're not happy with Seattle, you can just type in any zip code or any city. And what you can do is not only can you just put a point and have the application react to that point, but what you can also do is just have multiple points. So if you want to mimic, say, a trip that you're taking on a bike or in a car, and you want to be able to kind of map that in your application, you can simply go in and say, you know what, I want these to fire every 3 seconds. And when you click play, it's simply going to go and it's going to hit every single point there every 3 seconds. So that's kind of neat because it allows you to basically test applications without having a device in front of you. Now, the latest version of the tools, which I apologize for not having in this PC here, will also give you a third tab that will allow you to take pictures of your screen. When you submit the applications to the marketplace, you're going to be required to provide at least one screenshot of your application, and that screenshot needs to be a perfect size. It needs to be 800 by 480, and no better way than to do that than using the screenshot tool that comes with the SDK. Now, again, all these tools are free. You don't pay a dime for them. They're provided by us free, and they will always be free. Now, the other thing that you can do is, let's go ahead and stop this. If you are ready to deploy your applications to the phone, instead of running in against the emulator, you can run it against the device. And it's as simple as selecting Windows Phone device instead of Windows Phone emulator. Now, before you run your applications on your phone must be registered as a Windows Phone. You must be registered as a Windows Phone developer to unlock the phone. You must unlock it for development purposes. To do that, once you have a Windows Live ID, or once you're registered as a Windows Phone developer, you simply go into this utility that comes with the SDK. It's the Windows Phone developer registration. You provide your Windows Live ID, your password. You connect the phone to the computer, and your phone will get unlocked. You can have up to 3 phones unlocked with your account. To create a Windows Phone account, you simply go back to create.msdn.com, and here you will sign in. And I'm already registered, so I don't have to go through the process. But basically, it's $99 a year that you pay, and you have access to unlock 3 phones. But you also have access to create app and publish applications in the marketplace. You can publish unlimited amount of paid applications, but you can only publish 100 free applications with your subscription. If you want to deploy or publish more than 100 free applications, you have to pay, I think it's $20 per application after the first 100. Your applications could either be sold for $99 to $499. So from 99 cents to $499, or they could be free or free with ads. It's totally up to you, however model you want to follow. It is also through the dashboard that you can go in and see reports on how many downloads you have. You can see reviews. You can also see how many times your application has crashed, and with information to see why your application has been crashing. So it's a pretty nice dashboard that gives you some pretty good information regarding your applications. So this is it for this video. Next video, I'm going to show you how to use Expression Blend, and we will also get a little deeper in the SAML, which is going to be used to create our views in our applications. Thank you very much.